What's up, everybody? I'm JC.
I'm Brittany.
And you're listening to Just Breathing Home Edition. I'm not going to wear this hat for the entire podcast because I'm not a hipster. But there is a purpose to this hat. I had it. I wasn't using it. And you came up with the idea of...
I don't even remember that.
You did.
That's great.
One half asleep night, probably, of putting ideas for the podcast inside the hat. So we don't know what we're going to be talking about, which is exactly like every podcast that we do for Just Breathing Home Edition. But it'll give a little bit of a game or
I like it.
Fun to the podcast. So this is going to be our topic hat, question hat. We'll put topics that either of us want to talk about. We can put questions to each other.
Oh, I like that.
Like directed towards each other. So if there's something that you just haven't been able to talk to me about or nervous to talk to me about, you can put it in the hat. And then when we do the podcast, I can be like, what?
Can I put that question in the hat like 50 times?
If you don't get the answer you want, or if, if the conversation doesn't go
or
your
if there's
way.
like other papers in there.
Yeah. I mean, it would make for a terrible podcast if we're like, oh,
true.
Look, we get to talk about this again. You just say it in like a different way. You're like, this is the same question.
I'll just reword it.
Yeah. So if you want to join in, you can leave a comment with a question, or you can leave a comment with a topic, and we will write it down and add it to the hat of mysteries. What was the? Oh no. We call it the Hat of Wonders, like the Cave of Wonders.
Oh yeah,
from Aladdin. I don't know. We have to find a cool name for this. But tonight, though, you had a topic, you said.
I did.
Which is good because I didn't have anything.
That's good.
So what's the topic for tonight?
Okay, so I was...
Drum roll!
I was washing dishes earlier and listening to a podcast. And I heard this one guy, and of course now I can't remember what his name was. He was some smart dude. I think it started with an F, his name, but I can't remember what it is. It was like funnel or fennel or something. Anyway, he was talking about something super interesting, and he was saying there's like a boy crisis or something. And so they were like asking him, like, what do you mean by that? And I might be saying that wrong. Maybe it was worded differently, but he was saying how, you know, there's all these like mass shootings and everybody's like freaking out over like, they're trying to figure it out, right? Like whether it's guns or is it, you know, psychological issues? Is it all the violent video games? Is it like, what is it that's causing this, right? So I'm sure that it's more than just what this guy is saying, but I thought it was really interesting and sad, and something that this is actually what he was saying, that everybody should become more aware of to really care for these boys. But he was saying it's like a father problem. Like there's not enough, like there isn't fathers for these guys, or even just like a father figure for them to look up to. And they're starting to like have all this like anger inside, right? But really it's just, anger is just like vulnerabilities masked. So they're very vulnerable and like sad and like hurt, and they feel alone, and it just turns into anger. And so they're trying to, what was the other thing he said? He said that there isn't like that hurt and aloneness, and like what they're struggling with isn't being like acknowledged.
Right.
And so, and maybe they don't even know how to like, I don't know. Maybe they don't even know how to like tell people what they're feeling. Maybe they don't even understand. They probably don't understand what they're feeling. But because it's not being acknowledged, they're going to like something that will make them acknowledged, and something that will make them feel in control and powerful. Yeah. And So he is saying that maybe part of this problem is that boys are going to they're going to the extreme. So they have psychological problems and then they're going for guns. But that's not necessarily what I wanted to talk about, is not the gun part, just the whole fact that that is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That, we've really kind of taken apart how important the family is and how important fathers are to children, especially to boys. Cause he made a point that girls have all these same, all the same stuff, right? Like they might not have a father as well. They might have these same they have access to weapons. They know how to use weapons. They have access to violent video games. They also have mental, and issues and
right.
But you don't see girls going out and doing mass shootings, young girls. And so yeah, that was just what he had thought, but I thought it was something interesting to talk about. I had never thought of it that way, and just how sad that is for young boys who don't have that father figure, and how important that is for them to have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, I've heard that before as well. And it makes sense. It makes sense. And just to kind of look at I've heard loneliness. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but I've heard that's a big factor just in raising anxiety and raising a lot of negative emotions. I mean, loneliness is one of the worst things for humans.
Yeah.
And the social media kind of culture and just the day and age that we live in really is not community focused. It's very individualistic, which has its merits to a certain degree, but we've really poo-pooed any type of organization, any type of religion, any type of social construct that involves community.
Yeah, it's almost like if you need community, you're weak or something. You should be able to do it all yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just little things. I think I saw maybe it was a podcast or a show I was watching that, they were joking about Community Watch. And that's a silly example, but it used to be that neighborhoods kind of work together to sort of police their cul-de-sac.
Right.
To kind of hey, I'll keep an eye on your house, you keep an eye on my house. And there was, even in a practical way, they were doing community.
Yeah.
They were communicating with each other. They were helping each other. It was communal.
Right.
In nature. And even little stuff like that, just the joking about it and the kind of that's so old school. That's so lame,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But what's the alternative?
Yeah.
And I think that's the question that really not a lot of people ask nowadays is, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Before we remove God from the equation, before we remove religion, what are
you grasping onto?
Well, what are you grasping onto? Or just what are you replacing it with? Because for hundreds and thousands of years, people have clung to this thing as a meaning for life.
Right.
And you're going to replace it with what?
That's a good point.
Goodness?
Right. What defines goodness? Yeah.
But exactly. What defines that? And the thing is, the church, for all its flaws, defined all of these things.
Yeah.
So it's able to provide people with a defined blueprint or grid or box for, okay, what does it mean to not be prideful?
Yeah.
What does it mean to all the virtues and everything like that? It's helping you to understand these things and live a certain way according to the teachings of that body.
Right.
you don't have that nowadays, like especially in an ever-changing moral culture where goodness meant something 10 years ago and doesn't mean that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I hear a lot of people talking about speech is violence. That's like a popular one where, if you
Yikes.
say something against certain communities, just questioning them, questioning the validity of their practices, what goes on in certain communities. And they're not really communities. It's individualistic even in that. They lump it into these communities to make it seem cohesive, when it's really not. That's beside the point. The thing that is interesting is if you speak out against anyone from these said communities, you are somehow promoting violence against these communities because maybe they've been, made fun of or demonized or, persecuted in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So you talking about them now, it's like, whoa, are you trying to kill them?
Yeah, you can't say.
It's like, what? But the goodness that you thought was there 10 years ago is different now.
Yeah, I guess the way people view or define it in their own.
All definitions have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a difficult place to be in right now.
It's interesting though that how you were talking about, like, if you take away religion, what are you putting in its place? Because that makes me once again think of like kind of what he was saying, and that like when the father is taken away, like that leaves the young man kind of in like this, like what, like, because as we know, men need like a purpose, like that's something just in them. And so when their dad is taken away, they're kind of like almost like, okay, wait, who am I? What am I supposed to be? And it kind of leaves them, in this place of feeling alone and like having no direction. And it was interesting what the guy was saying of how like, even though this is sad, but like, let's say a young boy who their father dies like in the military. This is an example he used. And he was like, you put their picture up on the shelf and, your family or your mom is saying, you had a good dad and, he died defending our country. And so now, even though the young boy might be sad, like that's actually still something he can look up to and aspire to. My dad he's a hero. He's a protector. He provided, he, is all this, and he kind of has a face to it. And his mom can be like, your dad would be proud of you. And so even though he's not physically there, he still has that figure. But then he used the comparison of like, if your dad like leaves, like let's say it's a divorce and you only hear your mom saying like, yeah, your dad's a loser. He always did this wrong and he'll never amount to anything and you're better off without him. Yeah. And all this. So now this young man is confused and is like, am I going to turn out like that? Right. And like, he doesn't get a chance to figure out, is his dad actually those things? Like, and so they feel once again alone, maybe abandoned and confused and hurt, and they don't have that father figure to look up to. I just thought it was so sad. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really, I feel bad for our young boys who have that and, don't have that father figure to look up to. Right. And it's not necessarily their fault. And I mean, it's not their fault. But yeah. Well, but then I was thinking, I was just thinking like, I don't know. I mean, the solution is probably complicated and it takes everybody, but like, how cool would it be to see more and more men rise up as like good leaders and protectors and providers for these young men to look up to, even if it's not their father. Right. yeah, that would be cool to see, because you don't see that. You see most, I feel like the culture is now like, you don't have to get married. You don't have to stick around, you know, just kind of do what you want to do. Everybody do what you want to do. Yeah. And like, that's hurting us, and that's hurting children mostly. And yeah. So.
Yeah, no, it's something where again, going back to, you remove religion, what do you put in its place? And for our culture, we kind of replaced the headship of a man over his family with the sexual revolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a very simplistic explanation, but I don't think it's not true.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no rules anymore.
Because we needed to destroy the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Because the man was just keeping the woman down and she wasn't able to live up to her sexual potential. We replaced that structure, which allowed men to feel accomplished, which allowed men to feel respected, because, you know, in a loving,
and have a purpose.
Right. And have a purpose. Because in a loving relationship, you know, the woman would provide respect to her husband, who in turn was out there providing, was out there protecting, was out there, you know, leading his family. You remove that, what is in it? And this is harsh, but what is in it for the man without that in his family?
Yeah. And I mean, I'll even go further, because, you know, women think that, I mean, I shouldn't speak for all women, but often women are frustrated then with their husband or man who just sits around and doesn't do anything.
Right.
And they're so annoyed at that, which I completely understand. I'd be annoyed too. But like, part of the problem is we put them in that place, you know, like we've said, don't do that. Don't do that. I can do it better. Let me do it. I'll take control. I'll take over. And now you've just like smushed this person that you should be respecting into a corner and been like, you do it all wrong. I can do it right.
Right.
Well, what are they going to do?
And it's not just respecting for the sake of respect, because there's a lot of people that, like, it's interesting in a lot of communities where single parent families exist the most, respect is something that's sought after more than anything else.
Wait, say that again. So
in communities where I would just say single parent, but mostly single mother families exist, respect in those communities is valued above everything else. And I think the reason for that is because respect has been so removed from the family, where there was a respect of the kids to the parents, and the wife to the husband, and the love of the husband to the wife. And so there was this structure that existed that's no longer there. And honestly, I think in a lot of single parent households, it's so much pressure on that single parent that I don't think a lot of the kids respect those parents. Some of them, you know, later in life will say, wow, you know, he or she was working 3 jobs for me to just pay the bills, wasn't around. I didn't feel loved. I didn't learn respect in a proper way. Right. Because they weren't there.
There wasn't an example of it. Yeah.
So that's the thing that's most longed for.
Yeah.
And if you disrespect someone in those communities, it is crushing, and they will act out violently. You disrespected me. It's like, in a healthy relationship, someone disrespects you. You walk it off.
Yeah.
But it's so lacking in a lot of our families now that it's the desire for it is so great that it's precious to us, you know? And yeah, it's a sad thing. It's a really sad thing. And I don't want to kind of like veer off of the topic that you brought up, because I think it's really important to talk about right now. Because we can talk about single motherhood, we can talk about, you know, single parent households and the value of being in a relationship and having two parents and all of that type of stuff. But I think it's important to focus on the fact that there are so many boys, and they're not men, because men, there's this, we don't have like a physical like rite of passage, but there is a maturity that you need to obtain to really be called a man.
Yeah.
Sure, there's age, but there's a lot of boys that are over 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should be men by now, but they're boys still.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because they didn't have an example.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, they didn't have someone that could, before I forget this, one of the things that is so key for a father to instill in his sons especially is for them to understand that their dad has went through and has felt the things that they're going to feel and experience and go through.
Why is that important? I mean, why do you think that is important?
Because men have a very unique experience that women cannot understand. There's a uniqueness to the innate passions that we have, the things that the drives that we have. And I'm not talking about sexual drives. I'm talking, there's that too. But I'm talking about like the drive to provide.
Yeah.
The drive to succeed, the drive to leave a legacy, there's these things that some women definitely have, and personalities can influence the range to which you have some of these qualities. But men, especially kind of across the board, have these things, even if they're not showing this, and it's not coming out in in a way that you hear and
can see it. Yeah.
It's there. It's there. And the thing that comes with all of those things is the occasional loneliness.
Yeah.
That those pursuits just have baked in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where you're going to pursue something, you're going to work towards something that people don't understand, that your family and maybe even your wife and your kids don't understand, but you know this is the direction that you as the man, the leader, needs to go for yourself and for your family. And it's lonely. Like when people don't understand what's going on in your mind, what's going on, at work, what's going on, all of those different things that happen in a person's life, it's lonely.
Yeah. You don't have someone to share that. I don't know if you want to call it a burden, but that with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would feel lonely.
Yeah. And the way that men behave with each other, we're not very open with how we're feeling. And I know women have really kind of tried to press upon them to open up and to emote more and to show your feelings. I think there are places for that, but at the same time, I think there's something to that is just a part of being a man, that you do sort of take on burdens.
Right.
And you do put on weight for future times when something maybe tragic happens in your family. and everybody else is falling apart, but you're going to shoulder that thing and you're going to press your emotions down because you've learned to do that in other areas of your life. And you're going to pull your family through that situation.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think that you're right. I think that there is like a time where men need to be able to like have those conversations with other men or someone, because that's not healthy to do continually. I think that God has created men to be able to do that for such a time as crisis.
Right.
And to do those hard things when that has to be done for your family's sake. But I don't think it's something that should be like applauded to be done all the time.
No,
because that's unhealthy.
No.
But I hear what you're saying.
I'm not saying press down your emotions for the sake of pressing down your emotions.
Right. Just for the sake of that, getting through that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are ways of dealing with your emotions, though, that are different and maybe more healthy for a man that wouldn't be the same way and work the same way for a woman. I think there are ways that men can deal with anger, can deal with depression, can deal with fear, can, kind of go through, not ignore, not like ignorance of your emotions is not strength.
Yeah.
Understanding how you're feeling and knowing ways in which you can deal with that. Like for me, I go on walks. I work out. That's a way that I get to process. I get to do something hard. Like doing something hard for some reason for a guy, you get done and you feel better about your life. Like
yeah.
That's not
I believe that.
That's not the way that you would do it though.
Yeah. I don't know how I would do it. I'd have to think about it.
But what I'm saying is no, but you already do stuff differently in order to do the same things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's just a difference in the way that men deal with it.
Yeah.
And so back to my point with the fathers of these boys that are acting out violently in these horrific ways. They didn't have a father figure or a male figure to come to them and say, I know what you're feeling. Because every guy feels the same things.
Yeah.
We do. We have, it's ridiculous how similar our emotions are. And you need a person to kind of come in there and say, went through that too. I went through that too. And here's how I got through it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
These boys don't have that. So maybe they have a mom, maybe they have a grandmother. They're not going to be able to provide them the tools.
Yeah, they're going to just try to comfort them.
They're going to comfort them. They don't need comfort though.
Yeah.
They need burden. They need work.
Or just what you were saying, like it's so, I feel like it's profound because I would have never thought about that, but like just another guy kind of saying that to them, first of all, that takes away the aloneness that they're feeling. Now they know, okay, wait, I'm not just crazy or, like I'm not alone in this. Like other people have had this feeling too. And then that takes away the lie that they're the only one, and then that somebody cares enough to kind of come alongside them and say something like that, is really significant. Yeah. I never would have thought about that, but yeah, that's probably a big part of what a father figure or a father would be able to do for a struggling young boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also, to go to your point about men need to start stepping up, not only in their own families and being men in their own families and saying, no, I am going to instill these things that maybe you think are a little too masculine, a little too harsh, barbarian or whatever, barbaric, like whatever, but helped me as a man deal with the stuff that my boys are going to go through.
Mm-hmm.
We need to say, no, and we can communicate to women the best we can to try and say, like, this is why.
Mm-hmm.
This will help.
I feel like we'll need that. I'll need that.
Yeah. Because it will be strange to you.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the different sexes, is that we were created in all of these different ways with these different things. It sounds vague and weird.
Tendencies, characteristics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Yeah. We're different.
Yeah.
We're different.
We come at things differently. We see things differently. Yeah.
Yeah. But my mind is like going like 1,000 different directions. So I'm trying to like grab onto one rope and just go that way. Men do need to step up in their families with their own children. Also, one thing that used to be more prevalent in culture was men coming alongside of boys that weren't their kids,
mm-hmm.
and that being more acceptable. Nowadays, we're so scared,
mm-hmm.
And we value safety above everything else, that we don't allow our kids to, hey, I'm gonna go over to my neighbor Frank's house, hang out with him. He's working in his shop on carpentry or something.
Right.
We're like, oh, I don't know. It's
me.
a little scary.
That's me.
But
I need to do a background check on that person.
And that's
I need to know that person.
There's something to that for sure. Also, we have removed the ability for our kids to learn valuable lessons from our community.
Yeah.
And our community members, who 99% of them are good people.
Yeah.
That could instill some form of value, that have something inside of them that could be extremely valuable to our children, that we would never be able to instill in them because it's unique to that person.
Right. And kids listen sometimes better to other people.
And we have elements of this, in culture where, I hear tons of boys that, and men that, tell stories about sports coaches that were essential to them becoming who they are today, because they didn't have a father.
Yeah.
They got divorced, or the father left, or whatever the circumstance was. This football coach,
believed in them probably, and
believed in them, saw some potential in them, which maybe was the first time someone like said you have potential.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that comes naturally to women.
Explain
like
what you mean.
Seeing that sort of potential, like leadership potential, or like any type of like strength potential. Like,
do you think it would, like, let's say like a woman did notice that, like, would it even come across, like if they said it, would it even matter as much as if a guy said it?
No.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It would come across maternal.
Yeah.
It would come across as caring. You know what I mean? Like, it would be very nice, and we would, a boy would appreciate that. Like, oh, my mom loves me.
Yeah. They probably already know that too.
But like, it means more when a man says, I see that in you.
Yeah.
Like, it's powerful when someone says that to you. Like, you are talented. you are a natural leader. You are, etc.
Yes.
There's something so profound about that coming from any man.
Mhm.
Like, and I've had this where I've had coaches, I've had just maybe even friends of my parents,
Mhm.
but like away from my parents, these people have sort of said things to me,
Yeah.
you know, that have just meant a lot to me. I've had mentors. There's so many examples. Coworkers, even something
Mhm.
as simple as that, like another male coworker saying
Something positive.
seeing some value
Yeah.
in you is really powerful.
Yeah. I didn't realize that.
And so one thing that you talking about this, I haven't really taken it to heart. Like, I need to be more on the lookout for those boys that don't have a father figure.
Mhm.
And you can't be everything for them. You can't be their father.
Yeah.
But man, you could look for opportunities,
Right.
and just be ready.
Or just be aware, like, yeah, like you said, like if you're just, I can't even think of an example right now. Let's say you're playing ball with like in a group at the
Right.
park or something, and like you see something potential in a young man, like, yeah, you could speak life into them at that moment. Like, just, I don't know, guys, you're a guy, so you would know how to do that better, but without it being awkward and
Hey, you
weird.
don't suck.
Without it being weird, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like those opportunities are,
Yeah.
you could just take them. I'm sure it would mean a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's cool. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that because it's so pervasive in so many other areas of child development, the father absence,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just it there's so many studies on the effects that it has on children,
Mm.
and that it has on the women that have to raise children without a father.
Yeah, I can't
It is
imagine.
a grueling life
Yeah.
that I don't know how you come out of that. Like, even after your kids kind of are all gone, and that's a hard thing to recover from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that is the factor that doesn't want to, people don't want to acknowledge it when it comes to, we like mental health. We like guns. We like focusing on these elements that,
It's actually quite easier to try to fix those things.
yeah,
It's a lot harder to fix like
I
a
think that's
relational
it.
issue.
I think that's it, because even with the mental health, like, so we know that for every one of these, especially like the school shooters,
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of the school shooters didn't have a father figure,
Yeah.
didn't have a father or a father figure.
I didn't realize that.
Every single
He
one.
mentioned something like that, but every single one?
Every single one.
I don't know. Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, school shooters. I'm not talking about mass
Okay.
shooters and things like that. I'm talking about school shooters, like
Yeah.
the ones that came into schools and killed other
Wow.
children.
That's so sad.
They didn't have fathers. Most of them, I don't know the statistics on this, but most of them were also on
The psychotropic drugs, right?
yeah, psychotropic drugs like Ritalin.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, a lot of people focus on that because that seems like a quick
Mhm.
fix, you know, like maybe there's something wrong with the drugs.
Yeah.
And maybe there is. I think there's things wrong with a lot of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you could go down that rabbit hole forever and be
Right.
like, what was their diet like?
Right. Right.
That could have an effect on them.
But then you think
There's all of these
Right.
elements.
Then you
There's
think
all of these elements.
you go back to what this guy was saying of how like young girls the same age are also on these drugs and have these same outside influences, but like, it seems to be the boys that are doing it that don't have the father. And yeah. But yeah, it's sad. It mostly made me sad when I heard it. I was just like, this is so sad. Like you hate.
What's different too in like a boy as opposed to a girl is that a girl will seek out that father figure in other boys.
Right, which is also another big problem.
But a boy will not seek out that father figure in peers.
Yeah.
That father figure can only come from an adult.
Right.
And I mean, maybe they will seek it out from older males that maybe still act like boys.
Yeah.
And that's where you see a lot of like people without fathers getting into gangs. Because I mean, these are basically just older boys.
Right.
That, have found some twisted form of fatherhood.
Right. Giving them purpose. They're not alone.
Yeah.
They have community.
Yeah.
In a gang.
So they find that in that way.
But it all goes back to the problem of not having that father figure. Because like, even not to switch the topic, not that we don't have to go into this a lot, but like talking about the girls, like, yeah, they might not be shooting up schools, which is good, but they're going to be looking for that father figure and they're going to find it wherever they get the attention. And that might not always be good for their good. And so that causes a whole bunch of problems for them too. So it's a problem for the girls and the boys. It's just, in this case, we're talking about the bad effects that it has on the boys. But yeah. So yeah, it's just interesting. I wanted to bring it up because I thought I had never made that connection or thought about it like that. I know that not having a father in the home is a big deal, but I kind of pointed out how much of a big deal it is. And yeah, it's worth looking at more and caring about more and changing the culture more to go back to that, how important the family unit is for everybody, for the man and the woman and the kids. Like, it's good for everybody. It's not, no one misses out in that.
And this is a good reminder too, to me, to be a father figure. And that sounds stupid because I am a father, but like,
there's a difference from just being around
and
being a father figure
and being present.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. Like when you're just in the grind, you forget that especially your boys, I'm different with my daughter than I am with my boys.
Yeah.
And the boys need certain things from me. They need to hear certain things from me. And I need to figure out more of what that is.
Yeah.
Because men, there are differences. There is nuance, obviously. Some men value certain things above others. Some men need to say, you're such an accomplished athlete.
Yeah.
And that just is like,
right.
And then some just need to say, you are so strong, like, and brave.
Yeah.
And that speaks to them. So you have to figure out those things in your boys.
Right.
And then speak into those things.
Because it's almost like, I don't know where I heard this from, but like when we can speak that life into anybody, really, they are able to be like, it's almost like a hope light bulb goes off. Like, wait, like I can be that? Like, I didn't know that. Like, I even remember that as a kid. I remember when people would say things about me that were good, I would be like, oh, I didn't even know that I could be good at that. I mean, maybe that's just my personality, but it's almost like this. Yeah. I would call it a hope light bulb where it goes off and you're like, oh, like I can live up to that. I could actually do that. But it's speaking life into our boys or into our children, because they're able to be like, maybe they never thought that they were good at that or that they could be good at that.
Right.
And if you can speak that into them, maybe they'll try to grow into that or explore it more, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I actually think this just came to mind, but one of our children, at one point saw like, it was some YouTube thing and this kid was drawing really well. And I remember specifically him saying, "Oh, I can't draw well."
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at him like, how in the world do you know that? Like, you've never tried to draw. I was like, you might be a great drawer. And he was like, oh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I just remember thinking like, I have to, as the mom, I have to be like hyper aware. And sometimes I'm not.
But you touched on something super important there. So there was the unattainable, and that's what a lot of boys look at men and their lives as.
Okay, explain that.
So like I look at Cameron Haynes, for example. There's this guy, he's the number one bow hunter in the nation.
I remember you talking about him.
Yeah. Runs a marathon a day.
Oh, this guy's crazy.
He's crazy.
Can we not even talk about all the things he does?
But he's crazy, but there are so many men that follow him because it's this unattainable thing that you just, it's so crazy and I'll never be as good as him and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm reading his book right now and he breaks down the things that you see him doing all the time, and he shows you how he sacrificed to obtain that. I mean, the dude doesn't go on vacation. Like he'll go to like a UFC fight or he'll go to like an event or something like that, but like he doesn't take his family on vacation because he feels like he'll not maintain the lifestyle that he desires, which is to be completely and physically capable of going into any mountain by himself and hunting for any animal that he desires. Like with a bow, not with a gun, with a bow and arrow.
He's preparing for the Hunger Games or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's insane. And I don't want his lifestyle.
Yeah. I'm very glad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lord.
But like, he breaks it down where you're no longer just saying, so that, because he works a 9 to 5 too.
I know, this guy's crazy.
He's crazy. So you're just like, man, I work a 9 to 5. Why am I not able to do all of these things? Well, because I don't want to sacrifice like he sacrificed to obtain that thing. Now, maybe there are some areas that I'm different than him that I will sacrifice to achieve some goal. It's not bow hunting. I have no desire to be a bow hunter, you know? So what I'm saying is all boys look at their dads or they look at their, you know, adults around them, adult men around them. And if they don't have men speaking into their lives, and I'm sure this is what those school shooters felt. There's an unattainable I can't think of the right word. Unattainable. It's a goal, but it's a oh goodness. Come on, brain work. There's this unattainable man, this
figure
model. Yeah. Like a figure that I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but basically like there is, I don't know why my brain is just like idling right now.
Something that they want to attain. Like
there's this, I'll just say goal. There's this goal in front of you and you don't know how to get there. And you need men in your life to not help you get there and hold your hand. That's what a mother would do.
Yeah.
You know, a man will say, here's how you can work. Here's how you can sacrifice. here's how you can discipline yourself.
Like
Here's
an
how
example
you could
almost. Yeah.
example, but also a motivator, also a person that can help you get to those goals where you got yourself to those goals. Because
it wouldn't mean anything if somebody helped you.
Exactly. And that is a huge thing for a man, is that we need to know that we got to that thing. It's meaningless if you didn't get yourself there.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting thing. Like,
do you think, maybe this is off topic a little bit, but do you think young men or men in general, boys, whoever, need to like, do they need prodding sometimes? Oh, you're so cute. Do they need like prodding sometimes to like actually do something that they'll feel proud about? Or no? I'm just thinking of.
I think men put other men or boys in situations where they have the opportunity to feel proud of themselves after they've accomplished whatever situation another man has put you in. Whether that's like, hey, do you want to arm wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, would you like to race to that sign?
Okay.
You know, like we do these things not just because we're competitive, but also because we're giving you opportunity to feel like a man.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That is very different than women.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is very different than women.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so necessary.
Yeah.
And no amount of a woman's touch, a woman's love, a mother's affections will ever be able to fill that void.
Yeah.
That absent father leaves with his boys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, women need to stop pushing men away.
Yeah.
And they need to, you said something earlier, and I don't remember your exact wording, but the one thing I thought of was that you need to call, like women need to call men to their potential.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And it's the same thing. I heard this like a long time ago. I forget in what book it was in, but it was like a marriage-ish type book. And it was basically like referring to, you can't change your wife,
mm-hmm.
but you can treat your wife in such a way where she might live up to the kind of, not pedestal, but like, yeah, if like you, I think the analogy, it was using like the dowry system. Like, do you know what the dowry system is?
I think so.
Like basically a dowry system is like what,
like the amount of money you pay, right?
What a woman's family pays for a man to marry her.
Oh, okay. I thought it was what the men paid.
No,
it's what the man pays the woman's family.
That's the nice way of thinking about it. The actual way, I believe in India, is the woman's family pays the man to marry their daughter.
No, I don't think that's how it is.
Yeah, we'll look it up afterwards.
We have to look that up. I don't like that. I want to change that if that's the case.
but you're not understanding, like...
Okay, sorry. Explain your point.
Yeah, this is outside of... This is a whole nother thing we can get into, other cultures and how they view women.
Oh, boy, okay.
So the thing that I'm trying to express is, you know, you need to treat your wife of what you would like her to be worth.
Yeah.
And then she can live up to that potential. Like if you treat your wife like in that example, they're like, do you want your wife to be a 10 cow wife or a 5 cow wife? Like, is she worth 10 cows?
Yeah.
Then treat her as if she's a 10 cow wife.
Yeah.
And she maybe is a 5-cal wife right now, but if you treat her as a 10-cal wife, she can live up to that potential.
Yeah.
That you are placing her on.
Yeah.
Like the pedestal you are placing her on. But if you treat her as she'll stay there.
Yeah.
You treat her as a 5-cal wife. She doesn't have any ambition to change. She doesn't have any ambition to take care of herself better. Yeah. So I think it's the same. It's a different thing for guys, but women need to call their men to be the great men that they already want to be.
Yeah.
So you just need to kind of say to us, hey, get out there and go make this happen. Whatever it is, whatever the thing is that they want to do in their lives, do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen. You can do it. You're strong. You're smart. You're able to do this.
Yeah.
That's why I married you, for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you liked our personalities.
Right.
But we don't know that. We think you married us because we were strong and smart and awesome.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, talk to us in that way, and man, we will love you more. That's not what love is based on, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't hurt to feel empowered by your wife.
Yeah.
And I don't think women understand what men are capable of doing when they have an empowering wife at home.
Yeah.
Or at work, whatever you want, that are able to, to speak that life into them.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. I would have never actually thought of that way. I would have thought it was the same thing as the way men kind of like treat their wife, however you were explaining it, up to this high level. I would think it would be the same way for like the wife to kind of treat her husband in that way, but you're saying it's different than that.
We don't care about that though.
Men just want like
our worth is in our work.
Okay.
Like, and that seems so superficial. Get over it.
That's where you find your purpose, I guess.
We were biologically constructed for that.
Yeah.
We are workers because if we weren't back in the old days, we would have died. You know what I mean? Like, if we didn't get out there and build that house, we didn't get out there and plow through that snow to get to the barn to milk the cow so it didn't die.
Right.
Like, we would die.
Yeah.
So we were created for that. That maybe one day will just evolve out of us.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's ingrained in the male biology.
I think that's why we see so many. I mean, I feel like that's partly why there's such a mess today with men.
Yeah.
And how they're like, okay, so here's an example of one of the things this guy was talking about. He said how men used to be, I'm going to get the statistics wrong, so I'm not going to use them. But the majority of men used to be coming out of college and getting the good grades. And now I think women have passed them. So less men are going.
Men in college, yeah.
Yeah, less men are going to college, less men are graduating from college, and less men are doing well in college.
Yeah.
And women are on the upswing there. And not that that's bad that women are doing good. Like, that's great. But it's sad that men aren't and that they're not going. And that says something, like something's going on. And you see.
But all you have to do is look no further than movies and shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be one thing if women were just doing good in movies and shows, but it's good at the cost
of men.
Of men.
Right. It can't just be like equal like we both do well and help each other. It's like smush someone down so you can step on top.
I saw this preview recently for the new Lord of the Rings show, which I will not watch because it's not Lord of the Rings. It's not.
Yeah.
It's far from the lore of Lord of the Rings. It's its own fantasy genre, and I'm not interested. Mm-hmm. There was like this one scene in the main teaser trailer that just came out recently where Elrond and Galadriel are talking, and Galadriel says to Elrond, "You have not seen what I've seen," and she's like, thinking of these terrible things that she's seen, probably like wandering towards Morgoth and all this, mm-hmm. and Elrond's like, "I've seen my fair share," and they're like the same age, like.
Oh,
I mean, they're not not the same age.
Not really.
She's a lot older than he is.
Oh, I must have the wrong people in my head.
She's almost like his grandmother.
Oh, wait. Say the names again?
Galadriel and Elrond.
Oh, Galadriel. Is she the one with the blonde hair?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking of the wrong girl. Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, so they're having this conversation in the trailer, and he's like, "I've seen my fair share," and then she repeats, and it's terrible writing, and she's like, "You have not seen what I've seen," and she repeats herself, and it's so the writing.
Oh, come on!
The writing is atrocious.
They could have done better than that.
Yeah, get a freaking thesaurus. But
that's funny.
But anyways, the point is, Elrond, who has seen his fair share, and if you actually know the lore of Lord of the Rings, he's gone through a
tons
lot
of battles, right?
Ton of battles,
mm-hmm.
ton of stuff that he's gone through, but she has gone through more. Yeah. And she needs to put him in his place because the things she's seen. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. The strength she had to have to see those things.
Yeah.
And to go through it and come out stronger on the other side. It's just, this is the norm now.
Yeah.
This is the norm. And it's always, every show that you watch, even more of the family type shows, mm-hmm. like the men, and this has been, all the way back to that one show, Love and Marriage. Is it Love and the Marriage or something like that?
I don't know what that. I didn't see that. I don't know what that.
That one wasn't really appropriate for kids.
Okay, well that's probably why I didn't see it.
Yeah, but like even in that show and the little bits that I remember seeing, like the guy was a bumbling idiot.
Mm-hmm.
The wife, was a little more put together, very like just into herself and stuff like that, and the kids kind of ran the show.
Yeah,
a little bit, but it was funny because of all of those elements,
mm-hmm.
but sad.
Yeah,
like when you really dissect it, and every show from then on out kind of had these sort of elements
where the guy was kind of a fool, and the
guy was a fool.
Wife was the one who kind of held everything together.
Exactly, and you wonder why, like when you don't have like the Winslows from what was the show called? Family Matters.
Mm-hmm.
That was like he was a cop, he was a good dad, he was a good husband. Like that show was awesome, not just because of Steve Urkel, but because of the family element. Family Matters.
Yes. That was a good show.
Yeah,
that was a good
show. Like you don't have those shows anymore.
Yeah,
you don't. It's this same regurgitation of the bumbling idiot father, the lazy guy, or maybe not lazy. Maybe he just works all the time and he comes back and he just lays on the couch when he gets home and watches TV because he's so tired.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get any encouragement from his wife or calling to be more than he is because she's just mad that his feet are on the coffee table again and that he didn't, put his clothes in the laundry and that.
Right. So instead of speaking life into him, she just yells at him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So people like are scratching their heads and it's like, it's right in front of us.
Yeah.
Why families are the way that they are or aren't intact at all is because we've normalized that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key is we need to shift the normalization of that and say, no, that's not the norm.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Even if it's not now. I love this one guy, he's like a business guy, and he talks a lot about thinking future truth. Things that aren't true now but will be true in the future. And he's not talking about like visualization or like
there is a word for this.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
But they have like vision boards. Those people
yeah.
do that. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about just speaking life into the thing that you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be consistent doing podcasts.
Yeah.
That's such a stupid, simple thing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if I don't speak that life into myself, I won't have the encouragement that I need to be consistent with doing that.
There is something about saying things out loud that helps you do them. It's like, I guess it's holding yourself accountable and other people hear it and you're able to kind of walk forward in that. There's value in that. Yeah.
If it's always on your tongue, you're right. You'll say it. You'll say it to your wife. She'll say it back to you because you're always talking about it. You'll tell other people about it and then it spreads and
you're like, I want to do this. I better do this. I need to do this.
And then you're that person that you wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, you're that guy that does consistent podcasts.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're just a great podcaster that was always going to do this? No. Because it just became a part of who you were because you wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And you spoke it into life.
Being, yeah.
You know, that's what he's referring to, not the visualization thing's weird. I think there are elements like that are real.
Yeah.
And that there's a reality to that. And I think those are the elements that actually propel people to meet the goals that they want to meet.
Yeah.
I think it just helps people have discipline.
Yeah.
you know, and say, I'm trying to achieve this, so I'm going to work towards it.
Right.
And then you achieve it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else?
No, there was something else that I wanted to talk about earlier that I thought of, but of course, I forget now. So. Okay. That's okay.
We'll wrap it up here.
This was good.
All right, guys. So that was another episode of Just Breathing Home Edition. We will have this hat ready to go for the next topic at the next home edition that we have. If you have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss, because we're just such experts, we're so smart, but we're going to be authentic. And that's something that you won't get from every podcast. You won't get from, just other YouTube channels, other places out there. People like actually speaking what they believe, not mincing their words and not trying to dumb down their belief systems in order to make everybody happy. So if you like those types of conversations, we'll talk about those things in that type of way. So if you're on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe. I can't say that word. And then I liked what this one guy said. You don't have to hit that notification bell because we all have enough notifications in our lives, but please subscribe, like this video. If you're on Spotify, follow us. If you're on Apple, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review. That would be cool. I don't know why, but you could do that. And we will see you on the next episode. Love you all.